Welcome to this year's Start Network Assembly. I'm Sanjayan Srikanthan, the new chair of Start Network. And while I'm new to the role of chair, I'm actually not new to Start. I was lucky enough to be the NGO member representative of Start from Start's early days and to be part of the transition from what was then a British NGO group to what has today become a global civil society network with 55 members. And it's been incredibly heartwarming to come back and return to see Start and many of the things that we always talked about, such as decentralizing power, building a network of regional, national, and local networks, and reimagining the humanitarian financing system are not just priorities in our own strategy, but are what others are talking about. In a moment, you're going to hear from our CEO, Christina Bennett, who's represented us at COP26, demanding more voice and action for preventative response in the face of climate change, as well as speaking this year at the high-level UN summit on anticipatory action. And you'll be able to hear more about what START is doing in some of these areas in the sessions over the next 3 days. You're also going to be hearing from Suzanne, our CFOO, who has really championed how we take risk and how we push the boundaries of what START can accomplish with our network of networks. But START is not just a network, that's my point. It is an influencer whose time has arrived, and I'm really excited by that. One of the last START events I attended, and perhaps some of you I met there, was the START Assembly in Doha 2 years ago. And I remember the energy in the room, in the discussions, and just how much I learned about the positive innovations we are driving together as civil society. And it was really, for me, one-of-a-kind conference in that sense. I heard about the early plans to start setting up more hubs and have now come back to see 5 hubs and £36 million dispersed to members. And over the next 3 days, I'm really going to try and hear from as many of the talented staff and members who will make it a learning experience for me, but also as an energizing experience. The reality is that the humanitarian system continues to yield really slowly to change. And we've heard from governments and even civil society about the importance of locally led action and equitable financing systems for frontline NGOs. But we all know that change has been incredibly slow. And it's up to us to be the catalyst to really show that networks of local and national NGOs can cooperate and use funds effectively to better respond to humanitarian crises, and that we can innovate in how we use those funds, from risk insurance to emergency response to preventative action. And the learning we share over the next 3 days is not just for our own education, it's also to make us all champions of START, to tell anyone who's listened that we're not just talking about it, we're actually doing it. And so it's really important coming out of these 3 days that we learn, but we also take away and communicate and share and champion what we are about to the wider world. So I hope you'll take away as much as I will over the next 3 days. And it also gives me great pleasure to pass you over now to the 2 leaders of the amazing START team who have organized this assembly, have done such a fantastic job since last assembly. Firstly, our CFOO, Suzanne, and our CEO, Christina. So thank you, and let me pass you to them to continue this talk.
Great. Thanks so much, Sanj. What an exciting and wonderful introduction to this assembly. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, members, stakeholders, partners. Welcome to the 2021 START Network Assembly. And when Suzanne and I were sitting here yesterday practicing for all of this, I was reflecting about how much I love this time of year, because it's a chance for us at least once a year, although we engage with you all year, it's a chance for us to come together as a network and really sort of take stock of our achievements, but also reflect a little bit on our failures. It's a chance for us as START Network to showcase what we've been doing on your behalf during the past year and to really sense check what we're doing with you. It's a chance for us to tap into your creativity and your own positioning as operational organizations working at ground level, to make sure that we co-create and build together some of our newer initiatives. But most of all, it's a time where we can sort of recommit to what START Network is as a deliverer of funds, as a deliverer of programs, but as Sanj mentioned, as something much more, as really a movement for systems change. So you'll notice that the theme for this year's conference is changing mindsets, transforming systems. And I really think that was a really apt title for where we are today as a network, at a pivot point, at a point in our evolution where we are making positive progress and positive transformation. So, you know, when I reflect about what we've done over the past year, I'm really proud of that positive transformation that we're making. And I wanted to kind of highlight for you a few things that I'm particularly proud of the past year. You know, for example, at the beginning of 2021, we refreshed our strategy. We took a look at everything that happened in 2020, whether it was COVID or Black Lives Matter, the restructuring of some of our largest donors. And we, you know, looked at our theory of change with new eyes and thought to ourselves, how do we clarify what it is that we stand for? Locally led action, proactive action for at-risk communities. In doing so, we helped to define more clearly what we meant by locally led, which wasn't necessarily understood by everybody in the same way. We took a step toward monitoring our work in a different way, not only the impact that we have on communities, but how are we, or whether we are moving the needle on systems change. We pulled forward some conversations we had at the last assembly on decolonization and on racism, and launched a whole initiative within the organization about how to decolonize our programs. And we hope that some of you join us for those sessions over the next few days to help us work out what we can do for START Network and what we can do as a membership around the issue of decolonizing programs. We also transitioned our existing hubs from kind of ideas and groupings into active members, active hubs. In Pakistan, for example, the Pakistan hub started a disaster risk financing program. It is also ready to bring on its own new members, and it's attracted its own funds. DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, has also started a disaster risk financing program, as well as an innovation program. And they've just recently held a workshop to formalize their governance models. In India and in Guatemala, our two hubs there have started innovation programs, and Guatemala has convened, 53 community members across 3 communities to discuss water scarcity and what kind of innovative solutions could they bring to solve that problem for themselves. And our hub in the Pacific, Piango, has really been all over the map, speaking at global conferences, at local conferences, about the importance of START Network, the importance of locally led action, and the importance of coming together for collective action. So it's really exciting to see our hubs kind of coming into their own for the network and for what we're trying to do. We're also starting to talk to a bunch of new potential hubs in places like the Philippines and South Sudan and Kenya. And we're going to be talking the next few days over what we've learned about our hubs and how we can take that learning to our new hubs as we begin to talk to them. We also expanded our global and our national funds. And as Sanj said, we dispersed, I think Suzanne will give us this figure, 35 million to members across those funds in 2020. We've already raised up to 25 million this year for the Global Start Fund, for our national fund in Bangladesh, and for our newest national fund in Nepal. And in doing so, we signed on a few new donors, the Hilton Foundation in California, the Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies Foundation also in the United States, as well as the government of France. And in expanding our programs, we tried to realign them or make them much more accessible to our local members, including through direct funding to them. We also helped to embed the concept of anticipatory action into the mindsets of the systems actors, whether it was the UN or governments or NGOs. We really helped to put anticipatory action on the map. And as Sanj mentioned, I attended a high-level meeting hosted by the UN Secretary General in September, where 80 governments committed to diverting more of their funding to anticipatory action. We took our messages about the importance of proactive funding and proactive action to COP26, where for 2 weeks, our members, our local organizations all talked about the importance of acting early, of pre-positioning financing in order to minimize the loss and damage to communities who are at the most risk of climate crises. We also communicated loudly and clearly our messages, what it is that we stand for as a movement, and that is locally led action as well as anticipatory action. And I really have to hand it to our communications and advocacy teams who have made our messages crisp, who have gotten our representatives of START Network all over the world to speak on our behalf. And you have constructive narratives around locally led action that are very positive, that are really demonstrate the importance and the trust that we need to have in local action being more effective, more efficient, and more relevant to communities who are suffering from crises. So, you know, that's sort of what I saw our year looking like in the past few months. But there's only a part of the organization that I'm responsible for and that I see. So I wanted to, you know, ask you, Suzanne, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about what you cover in the business and what you saw of the achievements of 2021.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, great. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's true that I do see things and have to manage things from a different side. And I think one of the big things that we wanted to progress, and we need to continue to progress, is our move towards being a fully independent charity. And there's three things, I guess, that we use to measure that by. It's, do we have the right infrastructure in place to be fully independent? Are we financially sustainable? And the big thing and the sort of the easiest thing to measure is, do we have the years of audited accounts that we need to enable donors to contract and allow us to hold our funds directly? And so in 2020, we achieved another one of those goals in that we see our second year of audited accounts filed and approved. And it was a good year for START. In many of our members had difficult years, and for reasons that we were very fortunate to be part of, we had a very positive financial year. Now, many of you will know that we have our finances split across both what we hold here directly on the platform and what is supported by Save UK as our grant custodian. And again, we are very grateful for Save for all the work and all the support they've given us over the last 2 years since our spin-off from them. But we did have a good year. Our income grew by 14%. Our expenditure not as quickly going down as we would have liked, but that was mainly due to the activities we planned not to be, being able to be carried out in the ways that we had hoped. We all suffered as a result of COVID-19, and our movements and our activities had to be adapted. And as a result of that, our expenditure was less than we expected. And I guess that left us at the end of the year with a slightly larger reserve balance than we had anticipated. But we also did need to position reserves in a higher amount in order for us to be a truly, fully financially sustainable organisation. Christina mentioned and Sandra's mentioned, you know, our emergency funds and our disbursements to our members were at 35 million, a truly magnificent sum of funds going to help people in crises. And with risk of stealing the funding from our treasurer, who's going to speak more about it, the finances at the AGM, we do really feel that START had a positive year from a financial point of view and demonstrated again its ability to be truly independent. Independence is important to us because it drives forward and it allows us the autonomy to do things in the way that START wants to do. It allows us to take the risks that START needs to take. So independence, although we are grateful and we retain the support of our members, which is fantastic, the need to be and have the ability to be independent is truly important too. And also, I think another sort of step towards independence was that we have actually seen this year 3 donors be prepared to fund START directly. Those funders are Hilton Foundation, the Mac Philanthropy, and the French government, all of whom are prepared to contract directly with START and fund us directly for our important work. So, as I said, our Treasurer is going to speak more about this at our AGM on Wednesday. So for those that are invited to, please join and see how things are going on. I think another thing that was really has really spoken to me this year is last year, many of you will remember that we had a really difficult conversation and lots of different opinions regarding due diligence. Is it what START really needs? Is it the right mechanism to really measure how strong an organisation is? And I think we all agreed that START needed to step away and look at things differently. And so we have now partnered with Humantum, and we will be testing new ideas for a shared risk and accountability framework. And this is really a milestone, and it is really taking forward and hearing your voices from last year and really responding to what you requested. With that said, we also always remember on the sort of more business and financial side of the organisation that we have two roles to play. We have to be pushing the boundaries, and we have to be trying to be doing things differently, but we also need to keep things steady. We need to maintain what we do right now. And so we've worked really hard to develop further our tiered due diligence framework. And it's opened opportunities for local and national members and partners to access our start funds directly. And we've also been continuing our work with members to actually help them to strengthen systems, the internal systems that they feel are important to them. We have made available funding and resources to support them in that work. And there are some build sessions taking place on the 17th and the 18th about this new shared and risk and accountability work that we want to do. And it'll also be covered in the CEO Roundtable. So please join those sessions. I think we've touched on it, but the Start Ready part of our business, so the Start Financing Facility as it was, and now really focusing in on the Start Ready part of our business. And we really did need to move that forward, and it has come forward in leaps and bounds. And so we developed a terms of reference for a new governance structure for that particular part of our business. We've also started to build the infrastructures to actually support us holding the funds for the Start Ready. And that is also considering a mix of built-in and also brought-in services. And incredibly exciting, we have 4 donors already who are engaged with us to fund the launch of the Start Ready programme in March. The French government, IKEA, Mac Philanthropies and FCDO. So please, again, there's a learn session happening today at 1:30. If you want to find out more about Start Ready, please join that. The governance design work, which I was really fortunate to be part of, has now really taken off from last year, with members and assembly reps really sort of feeding into the final version, which will be tabled this year at the AGM for decision. So we're hoping that our membership will see that how important this piece of work is in the development of the network. And there's a learn session again today, if you're really interested in that, around the modelling of the governance and the membership. So, and obviously the resolution that's coming forward at the AGM. And I don't think I could finish by saying what I've been proud of without mentioning the team. And they have been amazing, and how they have continued to adapt to unpredictable and unprecedented times. I really do feel, and I know that Christina does too, feels really fortunate to be part of such an amazing global team. They're dedicated, they're professional, they're talented, and mostly they're resilient. So a massive thank you to all of the Start team, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, a massive thank you from me. And I just wanted to just say, it would be wrong for me to sit here and say everything is perfect and nothing ever makes me slightly uncomfortable. And I think one of the things at the moment we really need your help on and really need to push forward on is the organisational transformational piece. And that's how do we transform Start Network, the platform services that we actually offer today, into something that services the future network. What should it look like? Where does it need to be located? What will the staffing model look like? What will the team structure that underpin it be? And we really need to better pick through those challenges, and we need your help to do that. And whilst we do that, as I always said, there's always 2 parts of it. We also have to make sure we consolidate. How do we keep our current structure working and functional and legal? And how do we ensure we have a sustainable and scalable business and finance model? Build session, as I'm promoting, build session on that is on the 18th. And that's really about co-creating the future platform. So please, it would be good to see as many of you as possible joining that session to really help us to design that out. So I've laid myself bare now. So I'm going to now ask Christina, what makes you uncomfortable? What keeps you on the edge of your seat?
Oh boy, many, many things, but I guess maybe I'd highlight 2 things here. One is this question of membership transition, as we are an assembly now about changing mindsets and transitions. We've been talking to all of you, all of our members for the past year about our governance design. How do we shift from a global network to a network that's really positioned within our hubs. And, what are the implications for our current membership as we make that transition? What are the implications for the way we govern ourselves, for the way we hold this assembly? What are the implications for how you pay your fees, how you access programs? And we really need to start thinking about that with all of you. So, the second thing, and probably linked to that, is this question of value. How, when we start moving to a network of networks, do we maintain that value, maintain that feeling that we are part of something larger than ourselves, but that we represent a certain ethic, a certain set of values, that we operate as a movement? How do we retain that value? And I think those are the two things that are top of my mind when we start talking about transition. But what I'm hoping is that the sessions over these next few days, we can really tap into all of you to help us answer those questions, to help us overcome some of this discomfort that we have, or at least feel more comfortable in that discomfort. So I don't know, we're almost ready to get started with the rest of the program. Suzanne, what do the next few days look like to all of us?
Okay, so just to give you a recap. So as in previous years, the next 3 days are split into 4 key areas. So first of all, our learn sessions, which are taking place across today, where we'll tell you what we've been up to, and you've got a chance to ask us questions. The build sessions, which are incredibly important, is where we ask you to design with us or refine our important strategic initiatives. So please join as many of those as you feel you can contribute to. Explore sessions. Well, these are always the ones that are the most difficult, right? These are the ones where we discuss these wicked issues, these challenges that we face, and the uncomfortable subjects. And I guess, again, please join those and feel free to bring to those sessions anything that you think you need to discuss. Christina and I are also operating and Ask Us Anything, dare we say it, tomorrow at 3 o'clock, where you can come along and speak to us about anything you want to speak to us about relating to the START network. And also the final part of our assembly is our Decide, which is our AGM, and that takes place tomorrow, and that's for our assembly reps. And you'll hear information from Sanjayan regarding our strategy, from our new treasurer regarding our financial performance, and you will also have a chance to vote on the resolutions. But I guess the final thing I'd like to ask Christina just to comment on is, how should we be approaching this assembly? What should we be bringing to the party in order to make it a success?
Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. We have an incredibly full agenda, and I hope you're as excited as I am by what the sessions look like for the next few days. And hats off to the team for really putting together a very inspirational set of sessions. But I think for us to get the most out of this assembly, we need to do a few things. First, we need to be inclusive and respectful. As our network grows, it becomes more diverse. And that diversity is fantastic to see, because I know I've said to you all before, I feel that our diversity is our strength. But a staff member recently reminded me that diversity is being asked to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And I think what we need to bring to these discussions is a way of engaging with one another that's respectful, open, honest. So let this assembly be the assembly where we all ask each other to dance in new ways. Another thing I would say is that we need to bring our most authentic selves. We have to be honest in the discussions that we're having with one another. And as Suzanne mentioned, on our part, we're going to bring our honesty to the table by sort of opening up this open session for all of you to come to us and ask us anything you'd like to, good or bad, about START Network. But most of all, what I would really love to see in all of the sessions is that you, our participants, our members, bring your ideas, your engagement, and your inspiration. Because as Sanj mentioned at the beginning, we will only get out of this assembly what we put into it. So let us be inspired by our own ideas, be inspired by others, and bring to these sessions curiosity, creativity, and spark. So with that, we're going to get on with our next session, which is, I believe, about our national funds, Start Fund Bangladesh and Start Fund Nepal. So enjoy the sessions. We will both be in and out of all of them, as well as Sanj. See you all there. See you in a few minutes. Yeah. Thanks very much, and enjoy.
Take care.